Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Justin Melson with Happyfox Productions, and today I want to give you guys my top 10 filmmaking advice. Whether you're a beginning filmmaker or a professional filmmaker, I just figured that this advice might be helpful for you because sometimes we often overlook this stuff. And again, I'm not really a teacher, I just feel like from all my personal experience that I've learned the hard way, I feel like this might be beneficial for some of you guys to hear. So let's go ahead and get right into it.
Sound ready?
Pyro's ready.
Pyro's ready? Okay, and camera A is speeding.
Camera B is speeding.
Sound speeding.
Action.
Go! Go!
So tip number one is pre-produce the hell out of your film. Whether you're the director or you're the producer, whatever your job is or whatever department you're in, pre-produce the heck out of it. Like, that is probably the most important thing you can do. Speaking from a directing perspective, most of your directing is gonna go into pre-production. Your casting is essential. The writing of the script, the structure, the character development, the character arcs, the finances, everything. You ultimately decide if you want to put all your money towards your talent and leave other departments with nothing, or if you want to do vice versa and hire bad actors and give all the other departments all the money, or whatever it is. You need to pre-produce the heck out of your film. I cannot emphasize that enough. Pre-production is ultimately where you develop and make the film. Production is just execution, which is what stresses most people out. It stresses me out the most because you have to execute everything that you've been pre-producing for months or years. But that is just, for me, I consider that the physical labor of it. You know, you're not gonna get much sleep. You'll sleep 2 hours a night. You're gonna be stressed out. You're gonna be talking to a lot of people if you're introverted, you know. It's the physical aspect of, I want to make the right decisions on set, but the decisions you're making on set are because of the decisions you made in pre-production. Learn from that, pre-produce your film, pre-produce your film, pre-produce your film. Tip number two is similar to tip number one, and that is have a good contingency plan. If you don't know what that is, AKA have a good backup plan. No matter how much pre-production you do, there will be something that goes wrong.
So, died. Don't know why, but tell us what happened.
Just the normal stuff starts to go wrong with the scenario.
But things will most likely go wrong. And I'm a big person of manifestation and things, and I try to not focus on the bad things. I try to envision a successful production. But no matter how much I do that, things tend to go wrong. For example, the last short film we did, I did a year worth of pre-production. 5 days, everything had to go smoothly for 5 days. And guess what? The first day of production, we got rained out.
And it's
Yep.
feel something?
Yep.
We're going to the second location of the day, which was supposed to be the first location of the day, but nature decided to rain on us, so now it's the second location. So we had to film at the main location and then drive all the way to the second location and then drive back to our main location.
We lost half a shoot day. And I didn't have a contingency plan because once we got rained out, like, I don't know what else we can shoot. I should have had a contingency plan. I should have known, okay, let's go film an indoor scene. But always have a contingency plan. Always have contingency budget. If you have a $1,000 budget for your video, have a $1,200 budget because things are gonna cost more than expected. You're not gonna be able to get that thing shipped soon enough. You're gonna have to pay expedited shipping or whatever it is, have a contingency plan. That's tip number two. Have a backup, no matter what it is. Have backup actors. Go as far as that. I've almost had to do that where it's like you actors, talent is giving you trouble or they just don't fit in. Have a contingency, like, okay, well, I got somebody else on standby that's willing to play your role. So just always have a backup. That is the most important thing, and that says a lot about you as a director and a producer. If your crew says, oh wow, like this person, things are going wrong, but this person could bounce back and say, okay, they have everything that they need. Because everything went wrong, because they planned all that says experience, and you might just get hired for another job that way. Tip number three, if you're a union person watching this probably doesn't matter for you, but for most of us filmmakers out there, feed your crew and feed your crew. Because if you don't do it, and I've worked on sets where they don't necessarily do it, it doesn't necessarily look that great. Even if you're just borrowing someone for like 2 to 3 hours, feed them. Because odds are most of us out there most of our friends or people are working for free, or if they don't work for free, even if they don't work for free, they still need to get fed. That is like the ultimate rule. It doesn't matter how much you're paying someone, it speaks unprofessional if you can't feed them. And I've worked on a lot of freelance jobs where sometimes they're like, oh, we can't feed you. And they're like, no, it's not in our budget to feed you. And it's like, it's not really professional no matter how much you're being paid. Feed your crew. Odds are if your crew isn't being paid, feed your crew. Because if you don't, if your crew is professional or like they don't want to hurt your feelings, they're not gonna say anything. They're just gonna be like, oh, it's cool, man. We don't need to eat. It's cool, whatever. But deep down, they don't want to work with you anymore. Honestly, if you can't even like spend some money on some In-N-Out or some food to feed your 4 to 5 people as a thank you for donating their day, they don't want to help you anymore because they're going to be like, hey, this guy can't even feed us. Even if they have to eat on the go, where it's like we got to eat in the car from one location to another, that's better than not feeding them at all. And don't go and get don't get one large pizza to feed a crew of 12 because that's also happened too. Don't do that, it looks bad. Feed your crew, guys. Always feed your crew, point blank.
Do it for the bun.
All right, go and do it.
Do it for the bun.
I ain't gonna do it.
Do it for the bun.
Good luck on your scene.
Thank you.
And then there's Ryan in the back.
What?
This is how he preps for his. This is the difference between these two. She's actually prepping, and then there's this.
Tip number 4 is to always have gratitude, show more gratitude than you normally would, because again, whether you're paying people or you're not paying people, show gratitude and thanks. I cannot emphasize that enough. People like to know that they're being appreciated being there. Usually people shoot for 8 to 10 to 12 hours plus. Throughout that time, make it a habit to like thank your gaffer, thank your PA, thank your whoever it is. Just be like, hey man, I appreciate you being here. I know I said it a couple hours ago, but again, your time is valuable. Thank you, because that does go a long way. Whether or not the production is successful or it looks good or it looks bad, at the end of the day, a lot of people work on sets because it's a great experience and they're learning and they're gonna meet new friends and make connections and that whole filmmaking thing. But people like to know like, hey, I was appreciated being here. I spent 12 hours of my day where I could have been at home relaxing or playing Call of Duty Zombies or something, but no, I spent my day here busting my butt, but at least the director and the producer, they know that I did and they appreciate me doing it. And you know what? I'll do it again. Once again, show an enormous amount of gratitude, say thank you anytime you can, whether they're being paid or they're working for free, doesn't matter, always say thank you to your crew. Tip number 5, and I may get some hate for this, or I might get a lot of people that disagree with this, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it. If you're young or you have these kind of connections, use people for free. Now, I'm gonna reiterate that. I don't mean if you have the budget to pay people, don't pay people, because that's messed up and that's stealing essentially. If you're a professional, or let's say you have a really big budget and you're like, okay, or you have a producer, an executive producer, and they can say, okay, you have a 10K budget to pay your crew. You know, pay them their $500 a day rates, and then you're like, no, they don't need to get paid. I'll take it all myself. That's stealing. I'm not saying do that, but I'm saying usually this is for young people, unless you're older and you have these kind of connections, and that's great. But usually it's for people in high school because nobody really asks for money around that time. Is if you have friends or best friends that are willing to work for free, let them work for free, because usually people would much rather say, hey, like let's say you have a $500 budget that you worked at McDonald's to save up for. People would much rather know like, hey, instead of paying your 5 good friends $100 for 2 days to work on your set, put that $500 towards feeding them and putting that towards like renting a drone from Lens Pro to Go or something, because your friends, I'm sure, would much rather be happier knowing that they're working on a production that has some money put into it and that you're really serious about. At least that's the way I think about it. Like if my friend told me they have a $300 budget, I'm not gonna say, okay, well pay me $150 for my day. You know, I'm just gonna say, I'll work for free, I'll provide what I can, spend that $300 for your drone or whatever you need to rent, and the next, there's a potential they make the next like live action Grand Theft Auto YouTube viral video or something. You never know. Just, again, I'm not saying don't pay your crew, but I'm just saying that in some situations, if you have people that support you and they're like, hey, well, we're willing to go without payment so you can put the money that would go towards paying us towards a better lens set or something like that, I'm not necessarily against that, because at the end of the day, a lot of people want to make a project that they can put their name on and that they're proud of. A lot of actors do that, and actors are notorious for doing that. They're like, oh hey man, like I don't even need to get paid as long as like if you can shoot on a better camera, it'll look better for my reel, you know, or like you could put that towards better props or better wardrobe for me because it makes me look better. It's like, it's just kind of advantageous for everyone.
There's 6 million people in this town that play with Barbies, and I'm one of them. We can still go. You're not using the audio here. Don't be laughing.
Pay your crew if you can. Pay your actors if you can. Pay them. If you're a professional, pay them. But if you're in high school, or let's say you're younger, let's say you're older and you have the kind of connections where people just want to help you make some cool stuff, you know, there's nothing wrong with like, hey guys, nobody's really getting paid to do this. We have a $2,000 budget. We're gonna put this $2 grand towards these props, this food, and this and this and this, and you'll make something really cool as opposed to everybody gets a $200 payday and the production doesn't really sit up to your standards. So that's what I mean by that. Might be some hate, might be some, you know, people who oppose that, but that's just kind of the way I think about it. Want to state one more time, pay your crew if you can. Pay them. People deserve money. You can't pay your rent with copy meal credit. But at the same time, if you have friends that are willing to support you in that way, that's not necessarily a bad thing. And just know that you'll probably owe some people some favors after your production.
Your wife invited him.
Tip number 6 is to communicate well. Whether you're a director or you're a department head or whatever it is, learn to communicate. Learn to communicate your feelings. Learn to communicate what you want done, and not necessarily just talk and like yabber on, but learn to communicate in the sense of like human psychology, learning what words to avoid using, learning the communication in terms of being a leader. I feel like there's a way to communicate to someone, whether they're doing a great job or a horrendous job, there's a way to communicate what they're doing is wrong or right. There's ways to just know the psychology of human emotions and saying like, I'm gonna be careful with the way I talk to this person because people are fragile or people are like, you know, people can get angry. Just in terms of the emotional aspect of being on a set where people are 90% of the time stressed out, because in this industry, people get replaced 24/7. In this industry, at least in this industry in America, you're forced to work 12+ hour days. And I'm not saying all countries are like that, but there's learning to communicate. If you're a director and a producer, learn to communicate your vision. It's not always good. And this is my biggest issue. One of my biggest issues is I keep things inside a lot of the times. I'm like a computer and I'll be thinking about the editing and the cinematography and the directing. I'll be thinking about everything that I want to do to myself. And then I'll just start running around and doing it. Because growing up, I'm just used to doing everything on my own. Where now that I know to be more efficient, I should, you know, delegate things to my AD. Hey, AD, I need you to take care of this for me, please. Thank you so much. Lead actors, this is what we're gonna be working on, setting up this camera. We're gonna be shooting on these kind of lenses, so we're getting this kind of a shot. So can you please focus on this and hitting your mark so our AC can pull, you know, things like that, as opposed to me just ingesting everything and just running around. Obviously, by that time, everybody's well aware there's fire, because you guys are gonna hear it. And then that's when the grenade goes off, and that is a second explosion that we'll get later that's gonna happen down that way. So this is just a wide shot. A lot of this stuff we're gonna get a closer, you know, but for now. Communication is the biggest thing, because film, out of most art forms, is like the most collaborative medium there is. So you gotta learn to communicate, and communicate smart, communicate efficiently, and just be a good communicator, which definitely goes into leadership, which then goes into being a good leader. And tip number 7 kind of goes into tip number 3 a little bit, is to have a contingency budget. Let's say you save up $1,000 for your production, save up $1,200. If you save up $2,000, save up $2,500. That is a mistake that I always make. I have a thing of underestimating things, because psychologically it makes me feel better. It's like, hey Justin, how long is this gonna take to shoot? I'm like, it'll take about 1.5 days, knowing damn well it'll take 2.5 days. How much is this gonna cost? Well, it'll probably cost $25, but it'll really cost $32. You know, that's the issue that I have. That's bit me in the butt many times. Always have backup funds, always know that things are gonna be more expensive than normal, and practice budgeting that. And if you have $1,200 saved up, try to get it to $900. Try to only spend $900, and then in result, you'll only end up spending $1,100. And for those of us who one day hope to maybe get into the studio field, or whether you want to get VOD and get Netflix to, you know, sponsor you and all that, they look for filmmakers that can work under budget. I remember reading an article on a director who directed Thank You for Your Service, I remember him saying that they finished production under budget, which then gave them more budget for post-production. And it's just kind of like diminishing returns. What can you save here so you can spend more here, or what can you just save in general? And guess what? Producers and executive producers like that. They're like, oh, you went under budget, we'll definitely hire you again. So that's the thing. If you have $1,000, save up $1,200, but aim to only spend $800. Therefore, if you only spend $800, you're really gonna spend $1,100. Because if you save up $1,200 and you aim to spend $1,200, you're gonna end up spending $1,500. Which in the real world, in the long term, those of us who want to pursue this for a living, let's say you have a $20 million movie, you'll end up spending $24 million. I don't know, I've never been to that level before, but I'd assume, you know, it's just how it is. So always have a contingency plan, always have extra money saved up, but don't try to spend up to that amount of money. Tip number 8, and this is something for me speaking on the butt end of this. I've had to work with other productions who don't necessarily think about this tip, and that is to think smart and film smart. Just because you have a big budget and just because you have a big camera doesn't mean you need to shoot raw. If you're new and you're you're a big beginner in filmmaking, just because all the Ryan Connollys and everybody shoot their films log doesn't mean you need to shoot log. Doesn't mean you need to shoot S-Log 2 or 3. Shoot in Rec 709. Shoot with the color baked in, because you want to shoot smart. If you know your skill set, if you know, hey, I haven't color graded before, I mean, again, unless this is what you're trying to learn, then scratch that. But if you're trying to make like something serious and you know you've never color graded before and you don't even want to risk ruining your film because you haven't color graded, shoot Rec 709 because it doesn't hurt. Shoot smart. I do a lot of broadcast work. I travel around the country and I produce shows for Fox. And because of that, I learned how to shoot to edit. I know how to cover a big event with just 10 shots, and I can make like a 10-minute sizzle reel out of that. So with filmmaking, I know, okay, we only have 4 minutes worth of sunset, but I need to make like a 2-minute scene out of that. I just use the experience that I use with broadcast and you put that into film. Just run around, get the coverage for 4 minutes, and then you can cut it and do all that kind of stuff. It's best to shoot smart. Don't shoot what you're taught. Don't execute it the way you're taught to execute it. Execute it smart. Be diligent and just be like, okay, this is probably common sense for us to do. Let's do it. Don't say, well, I have a black magic. Let's shoot in the highest quality possible. Or let's shoot raw because that's what everybody says. Because most times you probably don't want to shoot raw. Sometimes raw is worse in low light than in ProRes or DNx HR or DNx HD. It's just good to know, like, hey, my computer can't even handle that. I'm gonna shoot H.264 or whatever it is. At the end of the day, make your job easier, not harder. And if you're working on a big production, and don't always put it on post. That's happened to me where I'll be working on a film and the director or the producer or the DP would say, yeah, we shot it in the highest quality possible because we don't know. And they don't even have the budget for that, or they don't even have the resources for that. And then that puts the other people in a bind, and then it just becomes a big old cluster, and you don't want to do that. Shoot smart, just shoot smart, think smart, and just be efficient on set. And number 9, and this is something that I also struggle with, I feel like everybody struggles with this, whether you're an artist or just in real life in general, is to trust your gut. Again, whether you're a director or whatever your job is, you have to learn to just, even if your brain is telling you don't do that or to do that, or whatever it is, trust what your gut says. Whether it's casting, let's say you're casting people and your brain is like, don't cast this person, but your gut is like, cast this person. Cast them, or vice versa. If your brain is like, wow, I really want to cast this person, they're perfect, but then your gut is saying, don't do it, man. Something about that person is not what they appear to be. Don't do it. Trust your gut. And it's kind of like more of an intuitive thing, because you can't always just trust. Sometimes you don't even know what your gut feeling is. Sometimes you'll get conflicted and you're like, I don't know what to do, and you start psyching yourself out. I do that all the time. So it goes down, whether you're directing, sometimes you might nail things in the first go, in the first take. And sometimes, myself included, directors just want to keep going. Like, let's get another one for safety, another one for safety, another one for safety. Next thing you know, you've gotten 10 safety takes. When if the actor got it on the first go and your gut is like, that is it, sure, maybe get one more for safety, but sometimes you got to be like, that's it, we got it, let's go. When it comes to hiring people, when it comes to making directorial decisions, or when it just comes to anything in life in general, just you got to learn to trust your gut and trust your intuition. And finally, tip number 10 is to always take responsibility for things that happen on your set and to always have a great attitude. My personal favorite saying, and it's just kind of like a thing I live by, is always have a good attitude. Your attitude determines your altitude. And that's just, honestly, I feel like it's the truth. Ultimately, if you want to have a successful production, or if you want to go high in life, or just go high and wherever, or get high, whatever, just have a good attitude. It's not easy. It's easier said than done. But I feel like that's why a lot of the more successful people, they know how to handle things when things get bad. Because I'll work on some productions where with the director and the producer, something goes wrong and it's not even that bad. Something will go wrong and they'll start flipping out, they'll start yelling at people, they'll start finding someone to blame. And I feel like it's the opposite of that. If somebody does something wrong, you take responsibility for it. If your grip or your PA didn't lay down tape on your stingers and somebody trips over it and falls, yeah, ultimately it's not your fault, you know, the grip should have done it, or the PA or whatever, but you know, they're gonna come up to you and they're gonna be shivering because in this industry, people get replaced 24/7. They're gonna be like, oh, I'm sorry. Just be like, you know what? No, I'm sorry, because you're creating an environment that allows them to work, or just, you know, work with them. Be like, hey man, it's all good. If anything, I apologize for not, whatever, you know? Always take responsibility for things because it shows good leadership ability. It shows that you as a leader are capable of like carrying the torch. You know, it's like, hey, I'm with you guys. You guys are my crew, and you know you're the one leading the production. They want to know that the person that they're following, or the person that they're taking orders from, or that they're being told what to do from, is someone that they could like trust, and someone that could be like, okay, well, I respect that. I'm working for this person. That is the biggest thing. Always take responsibility for everything. And I learned that from my good friend, Jake Keenum from Church Films, which if you guys want to check out his stuff, he also teaches filmmaking, really valuable filmmaking stuff. His stuff is in the link below. And that's something I worked on one of his films, one of his television pilots, and it's amazing like some of the stuff you learn. Like something would go wrong completely out of his control and he would take responsibility for it, which is something that I learned, and it was an enormous help. And once again, having a good attitude is key, no matter what. Even for your crew, hire people, have people work on your set that will always have a good attitude. When the going gets rough, they'll like tough through it. Like I had friends, we were shooting in Las Vegas in like 100+ degree weather, and my friends, they were like, we got this. They had a good attitude, which is why I would always keep using them again. And you can tell who's a quality person, who you'd want to use again, and who you wouldn't want to use again. Whether you're a director or you're a grip or whoever you are, if you don't have a good attitude, you're kind of selling yourself short, because odds are you're not going to get hired again, or if you do get hired again, it might not be for jobs that you want to get hired for.
Baby! We're off to a late start, but that's expected. I feel like today's gonna go really well. It's gonna be really fun. And we got the best crew the last 3 days. I sincerely mean it. We got Tyler, we got Timmy, we got Dylan that's filming the behind the scenes right now. Tons of people in the back. And out of every set I've worked on my own and like offset, this is by far my favorite one, guaranteed. So today's gonna be fun.
If the director or the producer or whoever's in charge, let's say they're taking the hard reality of everything. Let's say they're going over budget and all these things are going wrong, but they can almost even make it seem like nothing is going wrong because they're just like, hey man, things are going wrong, but like it's part of life, it's part of filmmaking, we're gonna keep pushing forward. That it's like, wow, okay, I'd want to be like that person, at least for me. Or it's like, I'd want to work under this person, I'd want to learn more, I'd want to whatever, you know. They're just quality people to work with. And for me, at the end of the day, you'd want to make friends with people that are quality people, you know, people that are going to push you to pursue your best, do your best, and work your hardest and have a good work ethic, and you'd want to bring that among other people. So that is just my biggest thing. Once again, have a good attitude. I cannot emphasize that enough. It is just the biggest thing. No matter how hard things get, no matter how much work you put into something and then it crumbles to your feet, just always aim high, and if you fall hard, just get back up. That's just the biggest thing. It's just, you know, aim high, you know, do the best, do what you want to do, bring quality people with you to do that. And if you fall flat on your face, just have a good attitude and get back up and keep going. That's just it at the end of the day. And like I said, it could take a lot of years, it could take a lot of mentoring, it could take a lot of things for people to get to that point. Or some people are just born with a good attitude, you know, it's crazy. But at the end of the day, I feel like that is what exemplifies a true leader. And have a good attitude. Your attitude determines your altitude, guys. I've said it a billion times, I'll say it again. Attitude determines your altitude. Always have a good attitude. But once again, those are my top 10 tips for filmmakers, whether you're a beginner or you're a professional who's been doing this for a while. These are things that I just learned myself throughout all these productions, making mistakes and things that I'm hopefully can carry on to you guys and hope you guys avoid making those mistakes, or maybe if you do make those mistakes, you'll be like, that Justin kid was right all these years. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. My name's Justin Melson with Happyfox Productions. If you'd like, feel free to follow me on social media. I post a lot of filmmaking stuff, shenanigans that we do on the daily basis. But anyways, once again guys, happy filmmaking. My name's Justin Melson with Happyfox Productions, and I'll see you guys next time.